I'm pleased to say we're joined by the Sky Sports and ITV commentator Stuart Pyke. Thanks for the time, Stuart. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good. All good. It's been a while, but glad to be back on.
Great to get you back on. There's lots to get to. We'll just firstly touch on this upcoming week because the new Premier League season starts in Cardiff on Thursday, followed by the Masters the day after. So it's a busy week ahead. As a commentator, how does it work getting all the prep done for those events?
Yeah, all good, all good. I mean, I think, to be fair, the Premier League kind of takes care of itself now, doesn't it? And I don't know, I think you get to the stage, or I may well have done a while ago, that too many stats kind of spoils it. I think, most people, there are stats which are good, and useful. Stats are mainly for when games are not great, unless they really stand out information. I think painting a picture and having a bit of colour and giving the viewers a flavour of what it's like and the atmosphere, I think that sometimes is more important. Head-to-heads are all well and good. If someone won 4 and lost 4 against someone else, it's irrelevant. As far as I'm concerned, but if someone's lost their last 19 games against someone, then that's worth talking about. So take care of itself. And the Premier League, of course, morphs into the Masters, then back to the Premier League, and then the UK Open, and it's just full on, isn't it? Of course, with the switch to midweek for the Players' Championship and the Pro Tour, it's just going to be non-stop all the way through to be back at the Ali Pali, of course, in December, literally non-stop.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. And we last had you on the show, it was back in the summer of 2022, so it's been around 18 months. So we've got to talk about what happened in the meantime and the greatest leg, as it's being called. We spoke with Wayne Mardle about it just before the last World Championship. You were there alongside him for that moment when Michael Smith hit the 9 after Michael van Gerwen missed the double 12 himself. What are your memories from what was an iconic moment in darts history?
Well, I don't think it'll ever be repeated. Certainly not in my lifetime. It is. It's the ultimate moment. I think for a commentator, it's some people on the pitch, they think it's all over. It's your Aguero moment, isn't it? It's just something that will always stick long in the memory, and still does. And I actually left the middle pages of my big notebook for the final, so everything was scored. I score everything as I go along. You may see in the video that I just wrote something down as soon as it went in. I just keep a record, and I got all that framed and signed and given to Michael Smith, because the whole match is there on those 2 pages, and it's a one-off. But yeah, I think it's also a great example of 2 commentators working hand in glove. It was my call, to do the Van Gerwen 9-darter. And I think the part of it is when I said over to you, Michael Smith, it was also over to you, Wayne Mardle. And it just became, with I Can't Spake and the greatest leg ever. And, I think it'll always be remembered as the greatest leg ever in one of the great finals. But, real privilege to be involved in something like that, having done this for over 20 years now.
And calling the end of that game, you said that Michael Smith, he was born to be a world champion. You two, you both live in St Helens. When did you first come across Michael, and how soon did you get the sense that he could achieve a lot in the game?
Wow, probably good 10, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, maybe even longer. He was always a big name in the sport in these parts, and his father's club is about 5 minutes away from where I live, so I used to go and see him up there. But there was always a buzz about Michael Smith being able to make it right to the very top, and I'm sure people got absolutely bored rigid of me saying every time he lost one that he will win one, and when he wins one, he'll go and win a lot more. The winning the Grand Slam, of course, it snapped the hex, didn't it? And I just thought that after that he was going to win the World Championship, and I have no doubt about that from when a dart was first thrown. But it was interesting that Michael van Gerwen was the best player all through that until the final. But it was his moment, wasn't it? It was his dream. It was his destiny, and I think more will follow. I think that life as a world champion, as a first-time world champion, is very, very difficult, and there's going to be lots of peaks and many troughs for Luke Humphries in 2024. It's really, really difficult. People shouldn't underestimate that. The demands on your time, and just basically living the life of a world champ. And I think that's where Michael Smith struggled. He still did quite well in the majors, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it may never happen again. I'm sure it will, but it may never happen again. And you've got to live the dream. You've got to live the moment, and take the trophy to go and show people and be proud of what you've achieved, and go on the television, the radio, and walk out at St Helens Rugby where he has a season ticket. All of these things, you've got to enjoy it. You just got to embrace the moment and embrace what you've just achieved. And I think that had an effect on him. But he'll win the World Championship again, of that I've no doubt.
You mentioned Luke Humphries there. We fast forward 12 months. We're talking about two other former World Youth Champions in the final. Luke Humphries, Luke Littler. Let's start with the champion, Luke Humphries. It was his opponent who's taken a lot of the spotlight, really. But should we be talking more about this spell of success that Luke Humphries is having? 4 majors in the last 3 months, and now he's world number 1 as well.
Yeah, incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. I think sometimes your name is on it, isn't it? I mean, he had his struggles. Face match darts and had to come from 3 sets to 1 down, and sometimes you just get a feeling that it's destined to be for you, and the same with Michael Smith. He had to survive a few scares, a few wobbles on his way to winning it. But I think just the way Luke Humphries handled himself. Let's just be honest. I mean, if Luke Littler had hit that double 2 to make it 5 sets to 2, I think he would have gone on and win it. But it was just too much really for Humphries to come back on. But the way he handled himself and the way he stepped up a gear or 2 or 3 and put the pressure. Let's also say that the first time that Luke Littler was really challenged throughout the whole tournament was in the final. And as a 16-year-old, he still handled it absolutely superbly. But Humphries won it on merit. He was the best player. He deserved to win. I don't think anyone can argue with that. And this might be a sort of left field statement, but I honestly feel that Luke Littler not winning it may be the best thing to happen for him in terms of his future in the sport. I just think if he'd have won it at 16, he has nowhere to go. I think he may have suffered for it. He will win the World Championship. There's no doubt that he will. He's a once in a lifetime, a once in a generational player. But I honestly believe that it may turn out to be the best thing for him not winning the World Championship.
Yeah, he's a very special talent, and once he got to the final, I don't think there was any doubts about Luke Littler being in the Premier League. But how do you think he is going to fare in his debut? Because a lot's been said about his schedule this year with the Pro Tours, the Euro Tour qualifiers, on top of everything else that he's going to be involved in.
Bring it on. That's his attitude. Bring it on. The more, the merrier. He wants to play them all. He wants to be chosen for the rest of the World Series as well. He wants to go to New York and Copenhagen and Poland and Australia. You just bring it on. But I think at that age, there's a certain responsibility, without a shadow of a doubt, for many, many people to make sure that he's looked after. From his family and his parents, and obviously his management team, the PDC, even the journalists and commentators and people who cover the sport. But I think he's capable of doing it. He's 16, or he's 17, of course, now 17 years of age. At that age, it's all about having fun, enjoying yourself. He's young enough to do that, and I think the Premier League won't hold any fears for him whatsoever. He'll just go out and enjoy it and take it as it comes. I mean, he possibly should have beaten Michael van Gerwen in the final of the Dutch Darts Masters. He had darts to go 7-6 up and then throw for it, but he didn't. But he was okay with it. You know what I mean? And I think that's very much a part of his DNA, that he's okay with things. I first saw him many years ago, and everyone was talking about him, a bit like Michael Smith in the town in St Helens and Warrington. But when was it? Probably 2-3 years ago at the Masters, he came and played a JDC final on the stage on one of the days, and there were 20, 30 people in the audience just coming in, waiting for the main event to start. And I remember I was stood on the balcony overlooking the arena on the stage with Chris Mason, and we looked at each other, and it was just like a knowing look. And I sort of coined the phrase that the kid can play over the past few months, and I just think he'll take to the Premier League as if he's a veteran, and I think he'll qualify for the semi-finals. There you go, I've said it. I think he'll be at the O2 in May.
Yeah, the bookies at the moment, they have got Luke as one of the favourites to get in that top four. They've also got Peter Wright, very much out of form at the moment, as the favourite to finish bottom of the Premier League. Do you think Peter can arrest this slide, or do you see it continuing this year?
Well, I understand why the bookies are saying it. He just looks a shadow of his former self. I think Peter himself was sort of talked himself round to thinking he wasn't going to be picked for the Premier League this year. But he's a 2-time world champ. He's great to watch. He's great entertainment. The walk on, the crowd love him, and don't forget that's all part of the Premier League package. But yeah, I mean, he's got a lot to prove this year. But we sort of said that in a way at the start of last year, and he had a shocker of a year, and then went and won the European Championship. I think that's very much what Peter Wright is like. And he's already said this year, hasn't he? He's going to have a go. Just pick one set of darts and concentrate and focus. And he hasn't been at his best in the two World Series events that we've seen. But I think it'd be a foolish person to write Peter off. He always seems to find a way. But the pressure's on, and he'll be feeling it. Of that, there's no doubt. His Premier League record is dreadful when you think about it, and he will be well aware of that. He'll be well aware of the knockers will be waiting to have a go at him. But the best way to shut up the doubters is to go up there and do it on the board.
Definitely, Peter's had many comebacks in his career. He come back and won that European Championship last year, and we saw some first-time major winners last year as well. Chris Dobey, Andrew Gilding, Luke Humphries, of course, who we've spoken about. But looking ahead to the rest of this year, 2024, who do you fancy to maybe be the next first-time major winner in the PDC?
Wow, that's a really, really tough question. I think the field in all the events is now wide open. I mean, if you'd have asked me 12 months ago, I would have, without a shadow of a doubt, said Luke Humphries, and that's how it's proved to be. I think you may well look at someone like Joe Cullen, who has made a habit of losing epic games in TV majors. He may finally get it right. Of course, he won the Masters, but I'm talking about a big major. I think Dobey will be in there as well to win a ranking event. And I think he will consider himself a little bit unlucky about not getting another call to arms for the Premier League. But it's difficult to see. I think if you're gonna talk about someone winning one for the very first time, you've got to say Littler. You have to say Luke Littler, because there is no fear. He goes out, he enjoys himself, he has a good time. And he's such a supreme talent that I'd be extremely surprised if we were talking again in 12 months' time and he hasn't won a big one.
Yeah, can't argue with that. And two more before we let you go. This is the 20th year of the Premier League. You commentated on the very first one back in 2005. It had the likes of Phil Taylor, Wayne Mardle, Roland Shelton and so on. We've seen it get bigger and bigger. The crowds, the prize money's increased. But what's your favourite moment from the Premier League so far?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I mean, we go back to the first night at Stoke City Hall or Stoke Town Hall, I think it was. When it all kicked off, and I think there might have been 800 people. We were in leisure centres in the likes of Kidderminster and Reading and Taunton and Widnes, and it was a real punt by the PDC. But boy, did they get it right. I mean, I think on one, Michael Van Gerwen's 1-3-2 to win it was absolutely outstanding. Gerwin Price's 2 9-darters on a night in Belfast. The heartbreak, I know it's not a highlight, but it's a low light, but it's a standout moment. The heartbreak of 1 dart for Joe Cullen, 3 darts for Peter Wright to win it. I mean, there's just been so many moments. John Henderson's walk-on, William O'Connor's walk-on, when they have the contenders. And they'll just go from strength to strength. They're selling out all over the place once more.
And lastly, we should finish up asking about another Premier League and your beloved Everton, just above the relegation zone after that points deduction. Are they going to stay up?
Well, I just fear that you bring Everton into the conversation. I think they will. The appeal against the 10-point deduction is going to be underway, of course, isn't it, when the podcast goes out? But I think they'll get some points back. I think they've been stitched up. I think the Premier League had moved the goalposts. I could rant on and on. But I think football-wise, they're good enough to stay in the Premier League. But we shall see. If you follow me on social media, I get even more grumpy and angry as the year goes on.
Well, Stuart, always great to get you on the show. Thanks for taking the time, and we wish you all the best for what else is to come in 2024.
A pleasure as always.